Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt here from Macabre Daily, and I'm once again joined by my wonderful professor for Five Nights at Freddy's 101, Bree. Bree, nice to see you.
Hello. How's it going?
It is going. We are getting into our fourth part of FNAF 101, and I feel like there's just so much more to this. Even you were just telling me before we started recording that even to the extent of like certain graphics and stuff, there's all these different variants of
Yeah.
FNAF out there that the layperson like myself may not be aware of. So, um, we are in the mid. If you have not watched the first three parts, then turn this off. Like, don't don't continue watching because it's not going to make any sense. And my recaps are at best going to give you just a portion of what you could have heard by listening to us. So, um, with that, Bree, I'm gonna do my best to recap what we talked about in part three. As always, you're going to keep me honest,
Of course.
keep me very fazzy. I don't know if Fazbear has any sort of adjective he uses, but we're going with fazzy.
I'll let you go this time because you pronounced the A in it right for the first time ever. So
I recite it in my head in front of the mirror multiple times before these calls, so I don't screw up again. The shame is something I cannot live down. So um, we started last episode picking up with Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which introduced us to the role of good old Jeremy Fitzgerald.
yeah.
And like so many people that work for this organization, these organizations, he's tasked with going in and checking out a place and making sure nothing bad happens. But in this case, this is a prequel to the original Five Nights at Freddy's, where we first get to meet our illustrious phone guy, who acts as somewhat of a hint giver slash directional Sherpa or of sorts to tell us exactly what we should be looking at, giving us some ideas of where to look. And one thing that seems to be a common thread in Five Nights at Freddy's, particularly if you work for any of these companies, is that there's a very good chance you might get fired or killed. One or the other is going to happen before the end of your shift. So as we reach the end of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, our good old friend Jeremy gets asked to come in and switch shifts from the night shift to the day shift. But in doing so, something terrible happens. The big old bite of 87 gets his head chomped right off, like these animatronics love to do. And then if you choose the other ending, you could potentially, is it the other ending where you get the chance to go home, but then you're fired?
Um, no, so this is not like a choose your own ending. There's just a normal ending, and then you can play an extra night where you're a different person
Right, Fritz.
after that happened. Yes.
Okay. So Fritz is the one who gets fired. Jeremy's the one who gets beheaded. Um,
He gets his frontal lobe bitten out.
so just the whole emotion, the feeling, thinking
Yeah,
part of the
yeah, yeah.
brain. So that takes us through Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and then we go into Sister Location, which is your personal favorite game, the one that totally changed the way the series is kind of played. It moved away from this kind of um, CCTV simulator into like a actual moving around, open movement, kind of walk around, open worlds to some extent, where you can start to maneuver around. This is where we get to meet the lovely hand unit thing is the name, the AI
Yes.
assistant,
Yes.
kind of as the proxy for our phone guy to some extent. And this one's a really strange one. We learned a little bit about it in the previous ones, where we end up in the house at the end of Five Nights at End of Sister Location that links us back to William Afton. But in this case, we're playing Mike Afton. So potentially, we never get verification if it is Michael Afton, but all signs point to Afton. He's an overnight employee over at Circus Babies Entertainment Rental, and as these things go, Mike spends his night there, continues to learn how messed up and terrible all of these things are, which leads us to our final night at Freddy's, in which there's a multitude of endings, one of which involves Mike being scooped alive
Oh
by
yeah.
Circus Baby, and then the other like additional night gives us an opportunity to I remember this correctly, he comes back, um, or he gets his innards pulled out, and then he wears the suit around on the street and eventually decays over time.
Yeah, so Ennard, the
Ennard, yeah,
combined innards of all the fun times, scoop him out, go in so they can escape the location, and then sometime later are like vomited into the sewers.
which is again, 8-bit graphics have never looked so gross.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have our first interactive novel, which you ardently defended as an actual game, despite
It
it
is.
not being digital. It does give you a lot of options and things to do, almost like a paper RPG. Um, and what we're doing in the interactive novel is forget the point of
Come
us
on,
having
come
this.
on, come on. What's it called? First of all, and that's the point of it.
The week before.
Yes,
This is
the week
the week
before
before the
what?
first Five Nights at Freddy's. So this is before the incident,
And
not the
who
missing
are
kid
we?
incident.
No, so this
This is Ralph's
is
story.
Ralph. Yeah, this is way after the missing kid incident, missing children's incident. Because this was our guy who was phone guy in number two. And he said he's going to take the night shift if they ever reopen. And when the next one happens, he, when this book happens, he is on the night shift and he has to deal with all the animatronics. And there's a lot of different endings. And the main ending is way less happy than the fake one.
Is this the one where where the rule becomes that these things cannot walk around during the day or at night? They have to stay
So that already happened.
immobile.
That already
Okay,
happened because of the bite of 87. But when they made that next Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the rule was that during the day they can't move because of what happened. But they can wander at night so that their joints don't, so that their gears don't get stuck.
as long as they don't jiggle too hard and then they're clamp up and squeeze whoever might be inside.
Right.
Um, and then we
Classic
ended
spring
on the classic spring. What is it called?
spring locks.
Spring locks. There we go.
Yeah.
And then we ended with the original Five Nights at Freddy's game, which at this point doesn't really offer as much lore, but what it does is kind of give us some inclinations into where things are eventually going to head. Um, and all that we really seem to get from this one is that our good boy Mike, good old Schmidt, he gets fired just
Stinks.
as you do. Yeah, and he doesn't. Well, he doesn't. He lets something out, and
He tampers. He's
they
tampering
tamper with
with
the
stuff and
animals.
he smells real bad.
Yeah, and that's the pretty much the de facto pink slip you're going to get from every single person who's
Yeah.
fired from Five Nights at Freddy's or FazBear's Pizza.
Yes,
Um,
that.
so I know I didn't do as well this round, but I'm. But yeah, I know I'm missing stuff too. So
C
A, what did I
plus.
miss? All right, I'll take the C plus. I'm
Listen,
a
which
very
is
mid-range
better.
student.
Yeah, I mean, then that's fine because I feel like you knew that coming in just with how you were trying to piece it together. It was a lot of,
Wasn't
that
as confident.
that essential, yes, it had that essential like points off for saying too much, like classic middle school speech.
Hey,
Um
don't come for my bridge words, okay? I need those.
yeah, so yeah, Fazbear
But
though. But you got a
Fazbear.
bonus point for Fazbear.
But I know that we've covered a lot of ground, so I think
We
I would
sure
ask you
have.
to give us like what is it that folks need to know going into this particular part that they may have forgotten from the previous ones.
So today we're starting at Five Nights at Freddy's 3, which is where this hit just like we're gonna hit the gas now. We had because you have to remember, of course, that even these last couple of games you talked about are, sister location is Five Nights at Freddy's 5. And like this was where the series went overt storytelling. Like this is where even though we didn't know his name was William Afton officially canon, this is where that character starts becoming starts being revealed as more than just like a killer and has a bigger story. Um, it's also a very interesting thing because it's our first time jump in Five Nights at Freddy's. Big old time jump. There's two possible dates that I'm going to highlight just because people like to argue about them. It's pretty confirmed which one it is from all the millions of material. In fact, now that I think about it, I could just look at it right here and see if It was argued in this book as well. But yeah, so we're jumping to either. So you were just talking about like 1980s,
Yeah,
stuff like
late
that, right?
80s.
We're gonna jump to two potential years, either 2015 or 2023. So
That's a
that's how big
pretty
the
it's a
jump.
pretty
Yeah.
wide berth between not just where we're starting from and where we're going, but also
It's
those
be
two dates even at themselves.
it's because the date stems from audio message, and it's like it's in context. So this is one of those things, again, you have to remember this was the third game. So all we really had was the bite of 87, and we had a little TV and stuff. We had like newspaper clipping dates that we were trying to base everything around at the time. But this game was released in 2015, which is why a lot of people thought it took place in 2015, because they thought, oh, we're just jumping to present day from where we started. But 2023 has its credit as well. So, and you'll see why. But first, we got to mention other important characters. We talked about in one, we talked about in our first video. And since we've been doing this chronologically, the reveal of this information was omitted from our discussion last week. So I wanted to
Hmm.
kind of just tap it. And that is that of the marionette slash the puppet
The
from
puppet.
FNAF 2. Yes. Um, because that is where that character debuted. We talked about it last week. The puppet, you have to wind up this music box. It's this weird, one of the few originals in this game. But we talked week one about its possession, which was it's possessed by Charlie Emily, the daughter of Henry Emily, co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment. And it's within Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that we learn that the puppet is responsible for the possession of the animatronics, and how after the missing children's incident, um, there's this mini game in FNAF 2 called Give Gifts, Give Life, where there's like slumped over little like bodies with masks of each animatronic, and you bring them a present. You give them each a gift, and it brings them to life for the first Five Nights at Freddy's. And what's interesting
I
about
too
that,
also come to life with gifts. So
yes, I also love gifts this much. But it's important, again, that also gives us a chance to remind ourselves that these animatronics from FNAF 1 they are not just from FNAF 1. Now that it's been 11 years since this stuff started, um, and going on, uh, that these things were potentially the prototypes we saw in Secret of the Mimic, were prototypes of these animatronics, which first appeared in a restaurant we've never seen, which closed, and then they are withered and broken down in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Um, and the reason why they are wandering Five Nights at Freddy's 2, despite being broken down, is because that is where the puppet first debuted. And then at some point, when they were in this location, gave life to them. And they are going to play a part moving forward again as well. But we need these central players. They're all starting to combine. So we're going to be getting Afton back, Charlie back, all these people moving forward. So I wanted to remind us of this. But Five Nights at Freddy's 3 comes out in 2015. Very different again. So we had Five Nights at Freddy's 1, introduced us to the concept. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 removed our energy consumption in our doors, made us have to hide in a mask, and it added the puppet and the mangle, as well as the toy animatronics, which, if you remember, had a more family-friendly appearance because of all the stuff that had happened with the old ones. And then we had Ralph from the week before. We had FNAF 1. Now, years and years and years have passed. Everything in universe, the history, the iconography, the days of Freddy Fazbear's are over.
it's
It's
like
been
it's like gone the way
decades.
of Circuit City. It's gone.
It's gone decades. You'll appreciate the approach this game takes as a horror fan. I feel like people will like this. So, 2015, FNAF 3 sees the player take on the role of a night guard at Fazbear's Frights, a horror slash haunted experience meant to capitalize on the ghost stories surrounding Fazbear Entertainment. So they turned it
Perfect.
into a local amusement park, has essentially like a haunted house a haunted attraction based on the rumors going from this town about the 80s. Oh, remember that place from the 80s? They said this happened, you know, and they build a haunted attraction out of the concept and make like scary versions of everything. And they try to collect relics and put them all there for people to see and be scared of, like a museum. Um, Fans learn, this is where the date comes in, that the game takes place roughly 30 years, this is said, 30 years after the closure of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, right? Leaving fans to theorize it lands in one of two places on the timeline. If the game is referring to the original Freddy Fazbear's, which we never saw, from 1985, then FNAF 3 takes place in 2015. But if it's referring to the final Freddy Fazbear's Pizza from FNAF 1, then the game takes place in 2023. There's the
Makes
debate.
sense. Now, as a fan of picking up on things that are somewhat meta, when you go to HHN, do they create that kind of like haunted Fazbear's like frights place that you go into? So it's almost like meta where you walk into the place that's in the game, even though you're actually
Mm,
in an amusement park.
if you want to hear something wild, I will touch base on this. Should have wrote an article about it. Now that you got this wheel churning, I am going to point something crazy out because I did write an article about the concept you just said. And you're going to see it all connect. All right, but I'm going to save it till after FNAF
Okay.
3. All right, Fazbear's Frights is the first of various. So this becomes a trend throughout the series. The first of various in-world offerings that sees prior games' narrative referenced as tall tales or urban legends from a major company, often as a way for Fazbear Entertainment to distance itself from tragedies and to try to rebrand in various ways. This particular attraction, like I said, is housed within an amusement park. It's meant to capitalize on ghost stories. And theory suggests that the protagonist is either Michael Afton or Henry Emily.
Wait,
So
but isn't
again,
Henry, isn't Emily no longer with us? Or that is his,
he's not canonically died in the games, despite dying in the book. He's always dead in the books that
hmm.
introduced him, but that part was never. And we know he lives. We know he could be here because he's going to show up later. The attraction is a haunted house-like recreation of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, in which various salvaged parts and animatronic pieces have been placed throughout the hallways with like lights that flash on them, essentially. However, its most significant offering is one full animatronic suit, which its proprietors found inside a boarded up safe room in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, because we still don't know which one.
Is this our MK2 suit?
Listen, no, because this is a long time ago. This is 2015, right? And
Yeah.
this year is when M2 was introduced. So 10 years ago this game came out. Um, ugh, 10 years ago, damn. All right, anyways, like it was yesterday. I'm young still. So over the course of 5 nights, the night guard must fend off a single animatronic. Just one. There's only one in this whole thing. The rest are just set dressing. Uh, and it's called Springtrap, who just mysteriously springs to life. So, in lieu of like our tape guy, our stuff like that, Ralph's been dead for a long time, right? We get recordings from the proprietors of this thing about what they've added to the attraction each night. So,
Proprietors
night
of Springtrap? Or
the
you mean?
proprietors of Fazbear's Frights. So,
Okay.
the first night they're like, welcome, and nothing happens. You sit there until the day's over because they haven't found this thing yet. Day two, their tape is like, we found one. We actually found like a complete, because they're treating it like it's been decades. They're like collectors. We found a complete set. We found a complete animatronic hidden in this like room, and that's the night where Springtrap starts trying to get you at night. Um, excuse me. So the player, like I said, is once again guided by a series of voicemail messages, which over the nights shed details on this animatronic's discovery. But it's also followed by newly found tapes recorded by a phone guy, in which he details the layouts of the old Freddy Fazbear's location. So, like tapes that predate what he was recording in the week before, because he worked in that other job in FNAF 2's location for a while. Phone guys tapes instruct employees on how to operate spring lock suits. So at the time, this was the introduction of this concept, which again just shows you how much different it is to chronologically go through this because we introduced spring lock suits in
I feel like it wouldn't make any sense
in
if you
the
tried to do it
60s and the
in order of
70s
release.
in timeline. Yeah. So 60s and 70s, these things already were around and then they were improved by Edwin.
As I say,
But
hopefully
this
they've
is the
gotten better so
game.
that you can kind of move around a little bit without locking up on side with you
Well, and
inside.
this was the original, and that's on purpose. That this is a tape about very old spring lock suits. Um, Again, like I said, which at the time of release, this was the fans' first canonical introduction to the entire concept, which was really strange because we had a single animatronic and we have this introduction of Springlock suits. Um, as a reminder for anyone just joining us now, Springlock suits allow animatronic characters to function as both independent robots walking around, greeting guests, dancing, and costumes that can be worn by employees by retracting all the gears inside of an animatronic and letting someone step in. Um, so yeah, where was I? Bum, 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 bum. The tapes always also reveal a back room that is always off camera. There's always a room you can't see in this game and should not be shown to customers. And this ends up being tape guys referring to this room that Springtrap was found in. Um, it is eventually revealed through various retro minigames in beating the game that Springtrap is William Afton's corpse possessing an animatronic.
Oh, dang.
Yes. It is revealed, you play this in a minigame, that the little souls that you saw in Get Gifts in Life, that you see referred to in various other minigames where you bring them cake throughout the other games, they're always shown as like little gray, little, very retro couple pixels, like crying children. Corner William Afton in this back room that's off camera in this 8-bit minigame again. I love the 8-bit minigames because they're graphic as hell. Uh, and so he is trying, like, you're one of the little sprites and you try to get close to him and he runs around the room and you get closer and he tries to run and then he runs and hides in a suit and he thinks he's untouchable. He points and laughs at the children's spirits and his laughter sets off the spring locks. The little thing's shaking,
Dang.
ah ha 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 ha, and then it goes, and all these little squares of red start shooting out of him, and he's twitching on the ground. It's great. Again, I'll send.
The joke's on Afton.
I've been sending Matt these graphic 8-bit things after we do each lesson, so he can truly visualize it. And this is the one I'll send you today. But anyways, after being cornered in the safe room, Afton's and in particular his yellow rabbit suit, which is what we talked about back on the first one, was his original character. He had that one that was inspired by Fredbear's Singing Show, The Real Bear, and then he had his original, which is this yellow rabbit. It's the same suit that was on the stage in the video I sent you where that boy's head gets clamped on, where it's just a yellow Freddy and this yellow rabbit. So he gets springlocked by this suit, his first original character in some kind of poetic justice, the one he killed all these kids in.
That is
Okay,
that is that is not only justified but warranted, which also brings to mind something that you were excited about when you saw the new trailer for the Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is this inclusion of Springtrap, when what it could
we're
mean
gonna
for where
get
the
to
movie's
it.
going.
Yeah, and that's gonna circle back to Springtrap remains trapped in this room for 30 years. So no one discovers this room or William Afton's corpse for 30 years until these proprietors unseal it. Uh, At the game's conclusion, the protagonist attempts to destroy Afton by burning down Fazbear's Frights. At the time of the game's release, the events of FNAF 3 were meant to be the end of Five Nights at Freddy's. There was only supposed to be three. Instead, it kicked off what became actual Five Nights at Freddy's, which was like this was the introduction of the central antagonist of the entire series in large, because we had just seen him as this like purple pixelated dude who like kills kids and he's obviously shady. And now it's like he didn't, he killed the kids trapped him, he died, he's now back and just like wreaking havoc. Undead animatronic William Afton. Springtrap. And its popularity explodes. The series popularity
So
explodes
is this
with
the
this.
game that like sends this whole series kind of to the
Yes,
moon?
because you have to remember one has zero context, two has a little bit of context, and it's just that, like, we don't have the week before or anything. We just have like the guy who made the game recording these tapes for us. It's Scott Cawthon's voice. The guy who made it is the only speaking person in one and two. Um, and then, like we've talked before, four is going to be potentially about Afton's son. Five is going to name drop Afton and talk about him making animatronics meant to trap kids, and his daughter dies. Like from here on, we build the Afton family. We build the protagonists of our series, the central antagonist, who's possessing which animatronic, all stems from this reveal
Now,
that a central character is possessing an animatronic now.
from your opinion, or whether you know if it's like objective fact, did they continue to make games because the third one did so well that they're like, we can't stop now?
This is
Or
another recurring thing that happens in this series where we're about to, oddly enough, the next thing chronologically was the next game that was supposed to end Five Nights at Freddy's.
we just can't quit.
Yes, and it's going to be nuts, and I can't wait to talk about it. But first, I want to stamp on this concept you just said about FAZBEAR'S Frights because I love it. I'm thinking back on, I attended Universal Orlando's Five Nights at Freddy's to be particular because they are different. Orlando's better. Sorry,
Yeah, that's what
sorry,
I've heard.
Hollywood. Yeah, because they have three animatronics on stage, not one.
Womp womp.
I said it. I said it. It's better. Um, I watched the walkthrough of the other one. But anyways, it's so interesting you say that because there are kind of relics of things like Five Nights at Freddy's, a Universal Halloween Horror Nights had the animatronics, but it also had the kids' ghosts with like the lines from the game. Like the kid that put like the Chica girl is a like little girl with like the same coloring that pops out at the kitchen. And you have the kid with like a hook as a hand like Foxy. And who, Matt, was I flabbergasted to see in the final room at the back of this Freddy Fazbear's. I wrote a whole article about it. I said, what? That's not even in the
Spring, it was
movie.
Springtrap.
Why is he there? Springtrap was there. And I said, they didn't even introduce Springtrap yet. There had a, like, because in the first movie, spoiler alert, Matt, because you know he's in the movie.
Yeah, I do.
He gets spring
I know who plays them,
Yeah, he gets spring locked at the end of the first movie. And he's
but
twitching
that's
and
how it
shit.
ends.
Yeah, and he's twitching and stuff. Obviously, we're not going to wait 30 years. But I said, I don't know if they realized it or if they're just capitalizing on the concept, but that wasn't William Afton. That was the first time we've ever seen Springtrap because he has all the wounds and he has like the main thing dug into his side and blood's coming out of the suit. And I wrote a whole article about how this is the first time we've seen Blumhouse's Springtrap canonically. And now you relate it to Fazbear's Frights, and I'm like, they did make a haunted attraction of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and its pizzeria, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And Springtrap was in the back secret little hallway.
It just
They,
in the back room, just barely enough so you could almost see him because you're kind of not
yeah,
supposed to, right?
he walks up to you and
Because I
slashes
think
at you, but he's completely in the dark until that happens.
so. I mean, I have to give, at least I'd like to give the people from Blumhouse and
Oh,
Universal
they
and
did
the
it on
Five
purpose.
Nights at
No,
Freddy. Yeah,
that's 100% on
this
purpose.
all has to be very much intentional.
The fact that
Um,
I didn't think about it is the great shame I will now face when this is
no,
posted online forever.
you've got
Anyways,
so much other knowledge that
I
that to miss
do.
one point is and this wasn't even a fact. This is more of an
Yeah,
opinion. So
this is just like I didn't think about that because in the movies there's a totally different story, but I do like the connection there. Anyways, directly jumping into officially in 2023 on the timeline. FNAF 6, a zany game, a hilarious moment for all of the fandom called Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, which is announced, released for free as a silly little stupid side game, which was common at the time. Scott Cawthon is hilarious. He releases these crazy games. Freddy in Space 5, a real thing, right? Security breach. What is it called? I forget. There's like a Streets of Rage beat 'em up Five Nights at
Into the
Freddy's
Pit.
game.
Isn't that in that?
No, no, that's a
Okay.
great game. That's a real game.
Because
No,
it
these
was
are like
free
free
on
little things on Game Jolt and Itch.io and websites like that. But trolls the entire universe with this game. So the game opens, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Design your pizza, and it's all 8-bit. And you put whatever toppings you want on your pizza, and you open the game, and it almost looks like Pong. You're Freddy on this side, and you can pick up pizzas, and there's kids on the other side, and you're trying to shoot the pizzas in their mouth until they're full, and you get the next level, then the next level, and then all of a sudden there's like gray and black reskin of your Freddy who tries to block the shots, and you can hit him and it'll stun him for a second. You try to feed the kids before he catches up, and you just go up and down the screen until suddenly, Matt, it glitches. The game starts to break, sprites start to double. They spread throughout the screen like an old solitaire game, right? Screen goes black, fades back in with much better graphics than we've seen at this time. Your character sitting across from an animatronic at a wooden table with like an interrogation light above it, and that's it. And then a tape starts, right? And now I'm going to introduce the game because I wanted you to get the image. Nobody knows this is happening. Nobody knows there's a FNAF 6 until they're playing it. And it was free, dropped like a joke on the internet.
So
Okay.
so the simulator is like an almost a cover for Five Nights at Freddy's 6.
In a way, it does still maintain simulator aspects. It's like, yeah, we'll get into it. So in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, FNAF 6, the player is a new franchisee of the freshly rebranded Fazbear Entertainment Incorporated, or LLC now, and runs a new restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. In-game file name has placed the game in 2023, making it a direct follow-up to FNAF 3, no matter where it is on the timeline, because there's never been something between it. And further strengthening, though, the theory that that game was 2023, because it very much seems like it goes one from the other like that.
And how quick in
Um,
succession did these games come out?
Years,
Okay.
yeah, but
Because I
because
know
you
he was pretty
remember,
quick at releasing them for a while. Like they
yeah,
were
but you have to
pretty.
remember. So we had FNAF 4 since the Springtrap reveal, all of Sister Location, a couple books, and here we are. Um, But anyways, it does strengthen that these things happen back to back because of what happens in this game. So the title sees the protagonist later revealed, because we still don't have a name for this character, but it is whatever character we refer to as Michael Afton is the protagonist of this game. We don't question how he's alive because we saw him barf an animatronic 20 years ago. Yeah, we're just like,
Yeah,
okay.
just get his innards scooped out. No big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. Circus Baby said, "You won't die" a million times, and he came back to life. But he's tasked with preparing a restaurant, his new restaurant, of which he's a franchisee, for a big party on Saturday. And the voice of Hand Unit returns in the tapes. You watch like hilarious like 90s, 2000s like slideshows where it has like little people with quotes. It's very corporate. Congratulations, you're a new franchisee. And they'll have like people eating cheese, and there's like a little like text box, and it's like it almost tastes like real cheese. Like the humor
Yeah.
is back. Because this is right on the heels of Sister Location in Prana, like in the order thereof release. But you're tasked with preparing this restaurant for the big party on Saturday. everyone's gonna be there, like Hand Unit says between each night, which sees them invest in decorations, animatronics, and games for the restaurant, and then place it on the layout. And there's like currency. You only have a certain amount of money. You can like do bad on certain nights and like get lawsuits and lose money for the night, not have enough the next day to like add a bunch of stuff. So it is very like it's like Sim City, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah,
You
like
play it,
I forget the name of those like other like
yeah,
restaurant management games, but it
right.
sounds a little similar.
But you play the day and night of these. So
And the
that's what's
day you're
interesting
managing your
about it.
restaurant, the night you're trying to stay
Managing
alive.
managerial tasks is
Okay.
what you're doing. Um, Most importantly, each day sees Michael discover mysterious animatronics outside the restaurant, which he has to choose to either salvage or dispose of. Um, the task stems from a series of tapes left by a mysterious person called Cassette Man. We don't have Tape Guy anymore. We have Cassette Man. That informs Michael that
In
his contract,
2023.
yeah, yes, that informed Michael that his contract had a special obligation written into one of the paragraphs of it that he has to do this every day and that he will always find one outside the door. Um, and the give and take of this is that you play a little game with them across the table where you play these weird audio tapes that are meant to like elicit a response from them technologically or in a like a cosmic horror spiritual way. And you have to look for them to move. And if they move, you have to shock them or they'll kill you.
Hmm.
And you have to try to make it through the whole checklist because like they'll progress, like they might move a little or they'll move a lot, and you can shock it two or three times before it starts losing value. But if you get jump scared, you don't lose the game. The thing gets set loose in your restaurant.
Oh shit.
So it's like it could cause injuries during the day. It could kill you at night. It could like these things run rampant. And even when you buy certain things come with like a liability risk, like rating 1 out of 10. And it makes your restaurant more dangerous, more susceptible to lawsuits. But these animatronics are crazy. And this is where the game, like the series is just like, this is really intended as the end of Five Nights at Freddy's. And it oozes that. So the animatronics see a return, particularly these ones left at the door are like the all-time heavy hitters of the series. Essentially the main characters are all the things that show up at your door. So you have the in order of appearance, the first is Scrap Baby, a new animatronic,
So not
which
Circus
is
Baby.
essentially baby made out of random recycled parts, which we learn is the bad part of Circus Baby, which was ejected from Ennard eventually. So eventually Ennard splits into two animatronics, all the other ones and Baby. The next, Molten Freddy, is what's left of Ennard. And now that it doesn't have a clown face because Circus Baby's gone, it has Funtime Freddy's face. So we call it Molten Freddy because it's all of these things still melted together, but it has Freddy's face. And it doesn't have it doesn't resemble like a humanoid shape or anything anymore because that was the baby part. Um, then we have Lefty, a very interesting character, which is an all black bear with a red hat. Um, and we eventually learned that this is like a containment unit. It's one of like those designs that's meant to trap something. And what it has trapped inside of it is the puppet from FNAF 2.
And that the
Because
puppet's what's inside of the location that we're running.
the puppet is inside this animatronic we just found.
Oh, okay.
Lefty has the puppet inside of it. And finally, the last thing we have is Scrap Trap, a burnt and decaying spring trap that survived FNAF 3. So it's like
Dun,
a
dun,
suit,
dun.
but the suit doesn't look so much like an animatronic anymore because it has all these burnt marks in it. It has a big hole burnt in the top, and what you see inside the hole is a skull because you burnt the organic part of William Afton as well inside that suit. Um, so during nighttime maintenance, when Michael is reordering cups, printing out menus, blah, blah, blah. You have certain tasks you have to do before you can leave for the night. And as you do that, you have to survive attacks from your salvaged animatronics.
So all of the
Because
ones
you,
you've rescued are now coming after you.
yes, because you have to make sure that all of the animatronics stay inside the restaurant until Saturday, the big party.
I feel like this big
Uh,
party is not going to be a big party in the way that we think about it.
Yeah. So in the canon ending, jumping right to it, in the canon ending of Pizzeria Simulator, this game has a lot of endings, and they're hilarious. Most of them are like you utterly fail, and like the hand unit voice mocks you. So there's like the bankruptcy ending, and you get a certificate. They give you like a business certificate for each ending you get. They're like, congratulations, you mismanaged stuff so much that like we had to close the restaurant. Please take this certificate of bankruptcy to prove like you should never do business again, stuff like that. And then there's also one where you do certain things, and you'll like this again because chronologically we've talked about it a while ago. You can push certain buttons on the computer you order things from at night, and it reveals the blueprints for the Funtime animatronics and the scoopers, and it shows their designs and it shows where kids fit in each one.
Oh, gross.
But then
Cool.
you get an ending. Then you get an ending um, that essentially is them being like, congratulations, you went somewhere you weren't supposed to go and saw something you weren't supposed to see. You know, like mental health professionals are waiting to take you to like an insane asylum as soon as you leave the
Ah,
room, and we
dang.
will deny anything you say. Like they basically like take this certificate of insanity so no one believes your story.
Dang, they
But
committed me.
yes, it's so good. I love FNAF humor at this point in the series. But the completion ending sees Michael successfully gather all the souls of victims from past games under one roof. Everything that's been possessed is all in this restaurant now because over the course of the nights you can also like buy Freddy and Foxy, and like you can fill your daytime restaurant with the other animatronics, and then you successfully salvage these five essentials basically, or four, whatever. um and it's amazing. It is the mic drop. Now we've talked because there's only one other thing in the whole series that's this funny to me, or this much of like a like go F yourself character moment. And that was when M2 was mimicking Edwin to him. This is right up there. This is a crazy good one. And it's also like it suddenly takes this game where you're like, you found all these animatronics, you have them under one roof, but why? Why do you? And like, why are these things showing up to your restaurant? And very unusually for a FNAF game, it answers all those questions. Why am I here? Why are they showing up night after night? And what's the point of this big party? So on the final night after you survive, Scrap Baby starts talking to you in her
Oh,
great,
God.
creepy little voice. And she speaks to the protagonist and literally everyone gathered like she succeeded. She comes at it like I did it essentially. Um, she says that she'll make use of all these souls. She's like, well, they're all here. We're gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna make you proud, Dad. I'm gonna make like she's there to
Uh-oh.
prove herself to Afton. And that's why she showed up when all of the sudden the channel that she's speaking to is hijacked and someone else talks. And she's interrupted by Cassette Man, who's revealed to be Henry Emily, the gathering's true orchestrator. And Henry reveals that he's brought them all together to undo the crimes of Afton and bring rest to all of the souls, right? He burns down the restaurant with Scrap Baby, Lefty, William, Ennard, and Michael inside of it, effectively ending Afton's entire legacy in one fell swoop and the entire plot of Five Nights at Freddy's up to this point. Um,
Dang.
as the
Bloodline
restaurant
ended.
burns, as it burns, as everyone inside this restaurant is trapped now, including probably Henry, because this is how he wants to. This is the I'm wiping this entire thing off the
This
face
is
of
how he
the
wants to
earth.
go out.
Yeah. as the restaurant burns to the ground, it shows each of the like main animatronics burning and like trying to get out through bars, and it's like really crazy. Henry addresses them each by name, which is enormous because it's like since this is meant to end the series, they're just taking the yarns and connecting them that people were theorizing all this time. So he addresses Elizabeth Afton by name.
And is that Circus Baby?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
But it's like at that time we were like, oh, we've connected the dialogue and we had that 8-bit minigame. But he's like, as soon as, and it's like the moment it starts, he's like, sorry to cut you off, Elizabeth, if you even remember that name. Like, he just like goes right into it and is name dropping everything. He refers to the puppet as his daughter in the monologue, stamping that it's Charlie. He addresses William directly. And he says everyone's souls are freed. And then he addresses Michael, but not by name. And he says, and to my faithful volunteer, who wasn't meant to be here who was never meant to be here. He's like, this trap wasn't set for you, but now that I know who it is, I assume you want to go out with everyone else.
Yeah, and everyone
No,
else
but
is dying. Might as well I die.
yeah, I mean,
Why
and
don't I
Michael's
take
like
it?
a reanimated corpse that barfed out a robot 20 years ago. And he believes that Michael wants to die alongside them. For years, fans have believed that Michael's appearance throughout the series was his own attempt to accomplish this task. So this is the theory that came out of this, because he volunteered to do it. And we don't know if that volunteer was by accident or not, because we don't know what drew these people here. We don't know why he decided to be a franchisee. Um, but it's evidence to the history of all of the ways he's been fired at locations under different names every time, and always for tampering with the animatronics,
And
but
for leaving
also
a stinky smell behind.
because he's a reanimated corpse. Yeah. Henry's dialogue towards Michael and Mike's role in Pizzeria Simulator seemingly confirmed, like stamped that in retrospect for all the other games. So that's why we're like, now that's why every game up to this we're like is assumed to be Michael. It's not like we theorized it. We're assuming because this was meant to cap it off, and that means that had to be true.
Because it's because of everyone that were fired, where it's bad because of a smell. It's because Michael is dead.
Yeah. If I had my phone, I would play this monologue for you because it's short, but it's cold as heck. So, because I love things. I love shit like this. But he essentially is like, everyone, like, give up and like free, like, and like all the evil animatronics just like let go of your spirits. They never belong to you. He's like, but for one of you, there won't be any rest because the darkest pits of hell are opening up to consume you. So don't keep the devil waiting, my old friend. And it shows
William
Springtrap like,
Afton.
and it shows Scraptrap like on fire with his like through a door that has bars on it because it can't escape the room. And it's
Wow,
just
it
like,
took 40 years for,
yeah,
oh, no, more than that. It took over
yeah.
50 years for Henry to get his revenge on Afton.
Yes, for Charlotte.
Wow.
So it's so good. But that's where Pizzeria Simulator ends. And then the next game we have is like real short, has zero story. But I brought it up to you in video number 2 for a second because it has the most endings, which is called Ultimate Custom Night. It has no time because it is believed to be, because of a book that later confirmed this theory, that it's just a never-ending hell for William Afton, where he's killed constantly by his own creations.
So are we playing as Afton, as William Afton in this
It's a
case?
believed so. Yeah. So Ultimate Custom Night, which came out in 2018, has no real narrative, but many understand it to be a series of never-ending afterlife punishments from the perspective of William Afton following Pizzeria Simulator. So that's why it's here on the timeline. The most widely accepted explanation for the title's canonical existence comes from Fazbear's Frights, that first run of short stories, in a short story called The Man in Room 1280, which is it all is in a hospital, where a devastatingly burnt, almost zombie-like Afton is still alive, technically, medically, after Pizzeria Simulator. Where they're
So he's
like,
basically in a coma.
Yes, because he's being kept alive by a malevolent entity, one of the children, called Cassidy by many. Um, Despite medical staff confirming that it's literally impossible for him to sustain life. He like doesn't have organs, he doesn't have skin. This body's just breathing essentially these horrible like throes. The entity in the story keeps him on the brink of death while forcing him to experience a recurring cycle in which he's killed over and over and over and over again. Um, Cassidy, the spirit, um, has long been theorized to be like Afton's most unnecessary kill, like a totally innocent, outside the confines of missing children incident, like a
Just for
horrific,
funsies kill.
like it's like essentially like this spirit isn't possessing something necessarily, though many think it's Golden Freddy, because that's the only thing we don't have an explanation for. In this, because in the movie there's a Golden Freddy child. Excuse me. But like was killed like so horrifically that the spirit came back pure, like in pure malice, right? Like it didn't
Japanese
need
ghost
to,
style.
it's so strong that it doesn't need to possess anything, you know. Um, but many people think it's part of Golden Freddy, and that's why when Golden Freddy appears in different games, the person hallucinates the words "It's me" flashing all over the screen before Golden Freddy gets to them. But that's that. So Ultimate Custom Night, again, like I said, like this is the last one, FNAF 3, and then we had 4, 5. This is the last one, 6, but then Scott's like, but here's a side game, Ultimate Cut. Like they never stop. And it's not like these games cost anything. So it's not like, oh, I gotta, you know, not
Yeah, they're
to
pretty
quote
low.
to quote Tim Robinson, who I freaking love. I love Tim Robinson. There's gotta be a way I can make money off of this. It's
It's got to
just
be like money.
too good. Yeah, it's just too good. Um, but it's I like $1. It's like these are Steam Game Jolt apps that like never cost anything. So it's just keeps feeding people. Um, that's the end of an era of Five Nights at Freddy's. And it's the last game on this timeline that we're going to talk about that is made by Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's.
So he
Um,
relinquishes the property to other developers at this point.
yes, which we'll not get into the reason why, because it's old news and not really relevant. But another developer takes over from here and ushers in what is now like the modern era, the modern story of FNAF, of which we've only covered Secret of the Mimic. But I don't know if we wanted to get into that today, so I was going to talk about another little side game that's amazing.
Which one?
Everyone hated it. I put it in air quotes because it was at the time people were flipping out about it. And it like the news caught on that it was the worst game ever and it got delisted and stuff like that. But last time I checked, people are still playing it all the time. I've watched at least 2 original run-throughs in 2025 of people streaming it. But it's called FNAF World, a turn-based RPG based on Five Nights at Freddy's.
Hmm.
It came out much earlier in the timeline than where we are now. And it introduced Circus Baby. That's its big deliverable thing to the world. In the game, which is a meta game, every character is in it, up to sister location. Every animatronic is a playable, recruitable character in this. And then there's some like meta ones. There's characters from Cawthon's other games that predated Five Nights at Freddy's. Scott Cawthon's a character in it. And it's so much fun. It's a
So it's
great
like
game.
Baldur's Gate 3 for the Five Nights at Freddy's crowd.
But it plays like Five Night or Final Fantasy like 4. Like it's like
Yeah, like
a
the
like
old,
a
yeah,
like
the
a
old like
like a
NES ones.
sprite, like a rapid fire seizure inducing flashing old retro RPG game.
Which are a lot of fun. Chrono Trigger
They're
is
amazing.
one of the best RPGs of
Yeah.
all time. And
And it's really fun. But there was a DLC for it where the characters meet because Cawthon is a character in it. It's like the the symbol that he always used, which is Anim Dude, which is his name on a lot of things. But it's like this big blue like stick figure made out of blocks was his like logo all the time for Coffin Games, and it still is. But then he was a character in the DLC where the player finds him like writing at a desk, and he refers to somebody like coming. He refers to like somebody's gonna come. She's terrible. She's whatever. And at the end of the game, you go back and he's dead. His head's down on his desk and there's blood like everywhere. And then it's the first time you hear Circus Baby talk.
Circus Baby murked him.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Circus Baby. That's my all-time character.
That's your spirit FNAF character, the Circus
Mhm.
Baby.
Circus Baby, and I love Lefty just from a design perspective. But those are my two. I love them. And a character we're going to talk about much later, which is Ruined Roxy the Wolf, which is my other favorite character. But I don't know if you want to dive into that yet. We could,
So
because there's a clear little jump. Like there's this next game is a nice time to stop because then we're going to dive into the Mimic again right after this game.
yeah, let's go through what is it? Help Wanted?
Help wanted.
All right, let's do it.
All right. And it does kind of follow suit with what we were talking about earlier. All right. Help Wanted takes place in approximately 2028, which is something love about this series, which is that it like very quickly just went, it was like, we're not even in modern day. We're going way past it at a rapid pace. Because they keep being like, the years have passed. It's time to capitalize on this idea. Like that just keeps happening. So
Yeah,
released
let's
in
beat this dead horse again and bring
yeah,
back this restaurant that's killing everybody every
yes.
decade.
But I love just this thing, which is like Help Wanted. It takes place in approximately 2028. Games released in 2019. So like they just decided like what year should it be? What about
I mean,
9
we're closer
years?
to that now than they were
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me. But Help Wanted, which similar to Pizzeria Simulator, has an in-universe name. So get ready, prepare yourself for this sentence. Make sure you try to understand it on the first time I say it. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, also called the Freddy Fazbear Virtual Experience, is a VR game that exists in universe of Five Nights at Freddy's, fictitiously developed by Silver Parasol Games.
So there is a VR game inside of Help Wanted.
Help Wanted is a VR, like we call it
Oh.
Help Wanted in our world. But what you're playing is an in-universe
Oh.
VR game fictitiously created by a developer called Silver Parasol Games.
Is it a VR game that we're playing, or is it that just
Yes,
like
it's in VR.
wow? So that's a lot of meta right
So
there.
essentially, when you put that VR headset on, you are 2 layers deep in a VR game because you're playing a VR game in your VR game.
Better check your Dramamine, everybody. Boom.
Yep. Because that's how we have to maintain this stuff because this game has to be the after effect of something that happened earlier. Well, the good old days. Anyways, this VR experience is the product of a newly rebranded Fazbear Entertainment LLC, and it's a new attempt to distance themselves from the company's dark reputation. We're introduced on like a virtual like roller coaster ride where they tell us about why the game exists. Now, here's where you really have to like this game's so weird, okay? This is where the series already was one of those like internet tinfoil hat series, right? Then this game was like, what if we just Twin Peaks it like with complexity wise, right? So Fazbear Entertainment LLC wants to distance itself from Fazbear Entertainment Incorporated. Um, the game wants to, they have created, this is nuts. All right, they've created games based on the horror stories that spread about Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. What are those games? You might ask. Okay, ready? This is crazy because this is gonna start. I think this could start a
Is it the
debate.
frontal lobe chomper
No,
simulator?
no. This could start a debate, I think, even with us. Like, we can go, this could start a philosophical journey right here that we may never get through Help Wanted for the rest of our lives based on this next statement, okay? The game's intro throws an interesting new detail into the mix of all of Five Nights at Freddy's. Are you ready? Rather than address urban legends like Fazbear Frights, this game was created to undo the damage caused by a single rogue indie developer, Scott Cawthon, who's been dragging their name through the mud.
Wait. So the game in the game, you're playing a game that is created by developers who are trying to undo what the actual creator of Five Nights at Freddy's did.
Thereby posing the question, have we been playing games set in the universe of Five Nights at Freddy's this whole time? Because the VR games are just VR versions of all the original games.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And in this game, it shows a picture, a human photograph of Scott Cawthon, therefore canonically making him a FNAF character.
That's pretty heavy. I'm trying to like wrap my head around the levels of mixed reality that are happening here.
All right. Yes. There's more. Don't worry. There's always more to the story.
There's always more.
This is just the introduction cutscene.
So
Okay.
we're playing a game where the actual creator of Five Nights at Freddy's
Is
is
someone
canonically being turned into.
they're actively trying to undo the damage that he did by making the games we've played so far. Yes.
And so now we're playing a VR game with a VR set of the other Five Nights at Freddy's games through this VR game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Inferring that the previous game titles exist in the universe is the big inference here. The Freddy Fazbear virtual experience consists of mini games meant to poke fun of and capitalize off the fake tales that this indie developer has spread. Okay, that's what they say. That's what Hand Unit says, even though Hand Unit is a character from the games that they are making versions of. All right, anyways, I love it. I love this game. Um, in order to expedite the process, okay, you have to remember, we don't know all the stuff I told you about the 70s at this point. That's the most recent game from this developer. So we're definitely building that story. To expedite the process, Fazbear Entertainment supplied Silver Parasol Games with old circuit boards and other technology from real animatronics to help with pathing and modeling for the characters in game. However, unbeknownst to the developers, one of these skins releases a virus into the game, which many now believe to be an extension of Edwin Murray Jr.'s Mimic program, leading to a variant of Afton's Yellow Rabbit to begin appearing and reaching out to people who are playtesting the game, of which we are one.
I love it. Haunted hardware.
Yes. Originally, it was theorized that the rabbit was Afton himself, having somehow digitized his consciousness into a circuit board. But later titles have led fans to believe that the rabbit is a virus, and it's going to come up in the next game. Created through mimicking this, okay, meta. It's good. They're ready for the meta to stack. This virus is mimicking the things that the remade mini games said Afton did in the original games. That isn't true.
So it's
Because Fazbear
retconning the
Entertainment is
history of
like,
the game in the game.
yes, Fazbear Entertainment is like, none of this stuff happened. These were all just this rogue indie developer, but the virus in the game begins to mimic the story of these games, which is Afton, and it creates its own version of a yellow rabbit suit, and it starts reaching out to the player. Uh, the entity is now commonly referred to as the Mimic 1 virus. Okay. Separate from M1 and M2.
Okay, this is
Players
the
take,
digital.
yes, players take on the role of an in-universe playtester who goes through each minigame and begins to see the yellow rabbit, whom fans call Glitch Trap. I love the name because at the time we thought it was just another version of William Afton. They eventually uncover hidden audio logs, cassette tapes, because even though it's 2028, they whoever is just the
Yeah,
god
what's
in the
old
world
is
of
new
FNAF
again.
is about cassettes. Honestly, at this point, it should have just been vinyls and just been, at least a
Might as
little
well.
closer to now, VHS tapes. Um, they discover these things from a character called Tape Girl, because that's how the series names people without names. All right. A previous tester tasked with finishing a coworker's unfinished work. Okay. The logs reveal that Jeremy, unrelated to other Jeremys, they just recycle names like crazy in FNAF. This coworker of this girl, of whom she's doing the work of, lost his life following his interactions with Glitchtrap in an incident where he was convinced to cut off his own face with a paper cutter.
Ow.
Tape Girl also discovered through emails that she found. Ready? Are you ready? Okay. That
Strapped in.
Fazbear LLC and the Rogue indie developer are working together, throwing the true purpose of this VR experience into question.
Dang. So we are playing for Fazbear Inc., but then the virus is trying to. Is the
Reach out
virus
to
the good
us.
guy? Is the virus the
No, no. The virus is
okay?
trying to get out through a playtester.
But also the company isn't good either. So like nobody's good. Is that what I'm getting at? Is like
Yeah, except you.
except we're the only good ones, and
We are the only
we're up the
good
creek.
one. We're the only good one, but let's continue the story. Tape Girl decides that the only way to defeat this virus is to isolate pieces of it through various assets of the game, which are these tapes. So she splits it, you know, Horcrux style into all of these. No, I mean, that's the closest thing. She
Yeah.
divides it between all these things and hides them in different parts of the game. Um, the very audio logs we've been collecting, Matt, to get this story. It's a chicken or the egg kind of issue. In learning the story, we've slowly been gathering these things into one room. Within these files, she leaves messages for the player character, whose name is Vanessa, telling her that collecting all the digital tapes in one place will set the stage for Glitchtrap to escape into the real world. What tape does she tell us this in, Matt? You guessed it, the last one. After we've gathered all the tapes.
Of
All
course.
right. Yes. So
Why
the
would you ever
end.
tell your whole plot before you can execute it? You know, it's
So
James Bond villain style.
yeah. So in this game, at the end, there's various endings, as there always are. You can find coins throughout the game and stuff like that. The audio logs that get a different ending, both of which are not good, right? Both of which are somehow glitch trap escapes.
I was say you either
Um,
get fired or we're dying. One or the other.
Kinda, yeah. So the last thing is like a puzzle, and at the very end, the yellow rabbit glitch trap version peeks out from a curtain and Freddy Fazbear's and like beckons us into the curtain, and we go in there, and then it jumps to a perspective where we're in one of the animatronics on stage, and he's dancing around in the restaurant while we are forced to perform. Um, excuse me one sec. This is what the tea was for.
Wow. So now we have been placed in the role of the animatronic, and
However, an actual DLC comes out for this game in the first time for Five Nights at Freddy's ever, like a full DLC that's as long as the game, called the Curse of Dreadbear DLC, because it was like many things in Five Nights at Freddy's released as one concept when it was truly a different one. So this is like we're adding things to the game for Halloween. So we made all these spooky Halloween themed mini games that are totally original, have nothing to do. It's like original content for this game. Hooray, you're welcome. We're the new developers of FNAF, Steel Wool Studios. Um, Vanessa has led through a bunch of mini games, but there's only one that's really important, which is this maze. And environmentally, this game starts introducing some like really weird shit in it. It has the Curse of Dreadbear has original versions of the animatronics. Um, that aren't original animatronics. They're just, well, Dreadbear is. There's like a Frankenstein Freddy that's like the logo of it because it's Halloween. But there's also on like a Chica that's on fire called Jacko Chica and Jacko Bonnie and like a Foxy that's on fire. Like because they're all Halloween. They look like they must be like pumpkins. They're on fire, but they're so on fire I don't see the pumpkin. And there's a banner behind it that just says Fall Fest because the whole like theme of it is like it's fall. Like, you're at a barn. There's a barn in the background. There's like tombstones. Ooh, there's Frankenstein Freddy. There's a banner. It's fall. It's autumn. But with what we know now, it was very important. Because, Matt, do you remember the part Fall Fest played in the
Yeah, it was a
70s?
long time ago.
Yeah.
It was was it when Henry was trying to get his thing going at the same time as Fazbear? No, I don't
No.
remember.
In Secret of the Mimic, an important character goes to Fall Fest to oversee Murray Coe's involvement in the event, a Fazbear event, Fall Fest, and dies at it horrifically. Do you remember who? There's only two big deaths in Secret of the Mimics stories.
Wait, is it the son, the youngest son?
Fiona
Yeah.
goes,
Oh yeah.
and what does she die in? Do you remember?
What is Fiona dying?
A
No.
fire. She dies in a fire at Fall Fest. So, unbeknownst to us, when this game comes out in 2019, its DLCs randomly drop in stuff that was important 6 years later. When we learned that Fall Fest had a massive fire that a main character died at, that's why all the animatronics in it are on fire. All right. But as far as it comes, because story building is a big thing in Five Nights at Freddy's. But these people obviously were just building the story this long. This is their first game making Five
Yeah,
Nights at
but
Freddy's.
that's what's I think so impressive is that this game came out what 2019? Do you say?
Yes, and 2025
And
was like somebody died in a fire at Fall Fest. Yeah.
right.
Um,
So
but anyways, you play as Vanessa still. Vanessa's still testing this, which throws into question like she must not know glitch traps in there, or he must not be, because we're still playing Vanessa and she's still testing this game. Um, right. So Vanessa is eventually led through a mini game where she goes through this big maze and she has to find a bunch of keys. She only needs one key to exit the maze, but if she finds all of them and retraces her steps to the beginning, she can open this like cellar door that was basically set dressing to the knowledge of the player at the time. They go down into this cellar and they find a bunny mask. Um, Damn it.
yellow bunny mask.
I had the bunny mask for you last time because I thought we were going to talk about it this time. I'm going to grab it because I have it and I just like having it. I'm going to show it. Because it plays a huge role moving forward. Are you there?
I am
All right. It looks
waiting
like
to see this
this.
mask. That's pretty sick.
So she finds this just sitting in the cellar of this barn door in this fake mini game. And that's the end of this DLC. But if you go back into the normal game, uh, throughout the game, you collect prizes, and they all show up in like a Chuck E. Cheese style prize counter in the back that you can go to, and you can just like push a button, and a little like VR tangible version of the prize you got, and you can pick it up, and VR stuff. But when you beat the game and get its true ending, Originally, you get a glitch trap plush, and it's literally a glitching stuffed animal of glitch trap. And if you happen to go back after you got this and you take the mask, you push the button so it puts the mask as the tangible thing. You get the mask, you put it on, and then you pick up the glitch trap plush and hold it in front of it. Vanessa starts holding a conversation with it that only you can hear the Vanessa parts of, but it's obviously answering
Whoa.
her. Um, so we find out that she's possessed by it, and she possibly doesn't know until she puts this mask on. The possession kicks off the new modern era of Five Nights at Freddy's. This is the central concept now. Our antagonist at this point, to our knowledge, is Glitch Trap. It's escaped. Some part of Afton has survived. Um, and this is Steel Wool Studios like launch pad. Around the same time the final events of Help Wanted take place. I believe it was like at Christmas time after the release of this, they had one more thing, which is you can go outside at a point and look, and you can see that they're building a new humongous, like a mall-sized restaurant of Freddy Fazbear's. So like Freddy Fazbear's isn't just this game, but it's like really coming back. And this place is called the Mega Pizzaplex, which is a massive entertainment fun center, which constitutes the first official Fazbear establishment since the closure of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Because I want to put that in context. We've had a lot of games, but it hasn't been since FNAF 1 that there was a Freddy Fazbear's official location. Because we had sister location. That's not Freddy Fazbear's. We had
You had the circus baby,
our
the
circus
costume
baby
manor.
stuff. We had a random franchisee's fake restaurant, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, which was really just a trap for the animatronics, right? And we have this video game. So it's been that long since Fazbear builds a restaurant. So it's like a modern era. It's 2028. It's a futuristic restaurant. And that's going to kick off where we go to next. Next week, we're going to
Wow.
talk a little bit. We're going to dive back into the Mimic stories from Tales of the Pizzaplex, which is why they come from this. This is Steel Wool's baby. The Mimic, even when we introduced it back on the timeline, it was because it appeared in a book that came out after these games called Tales from the Pizzaplex. And then we're going to dive into like, it's going to get more meta and it's going to get more complicated. Next week, we're going to do some books. We're going to do Security Breach. And then I think we only have one left.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I don't see is in the pit going to be, is that canonically part of this, or is that a separate thing
That's
altogether?
separate.
Okay. The
Into
only
the
game I
Pit,
own because it was free on Epic Game Store like 3 weeks ago.
I saw. It was pretty good. It's a great game. I reviewed it. It was really good. I love its developer, just a little developer out of Pittsburgh, Mega Cat Studios. Hit it out of the park. Fantastic.
Well, I am excited for us to kind of put a bookend on our Five Nights at Freddy's showcase.
I'm gonna miss
Um,
it. I'm gonna miss it a lot,
I
Matt.
know, but it's okay because we have the movies coming up. And
Very
I know
true.
that I can't, and I'm sure once the movies are out, be a chance for us to regroup and see what has that. Not only does what is the movie, the second movie change, but what does the new Ultimate Guide have that's being re-released the day before?
Oh
So
yeah. So what do we have next? What's the date next week? Do we have? Yeah, we'll finish this then.
yeah, so we'll have one more, and then the
We might
following
have
week the
to
movie
we might have to
opens.
reconvene just to discuss it a little because I don't know. You follow me, I think, on social media, but I posted a crazy still that was released over the weekend, which I think you can appreciate here, because there's a picture of Vanessa, who we just talked about, as a child with Charlotte Emily as a child. They knew each other
Crossing paths.
in the movie universe because things happen much closer together. It's not 40, 50 years apart. Vanessa, as a child, knows Charlie before the puppet. So crazy. It's a fever dream for people trying to keep track of this stuff.
No, but I think that's the fun of it though, is like there's very few franchises that reward this level of attention to detail. Um, aside from like, if you can play an RPG game, right, and it's got all
Yeah,
kinds of lore that you discover, but this is more kind of a you have to really
yeah.
try and seek it out. So I would imagine this is a more rewarding experience than say just reading stuff that you pick up over time. You're more just feel like a real detective. So
Yeah, it's super fun. Also, Matt, just totally separate. A new thing was listed on all storefronts this past week.
a new
No
game.
picture yet. No. A new collection, The Confidential Files of Fazbear Entertainment, is releasing in April. And it is
Do
listed as being a box of artifacts. And I mean, we might have to
you
have a
think it's a
debate in
remaster
April.
collection though?
It's not games, Matt. It's physical, tangible items and documents from
Holy
Fazbear
shit.
Entertainment.
Bust out your Sherlock Holmes hat and your
Yes.
corncob pipe because
So
we are going sleuthing.
we might finish this next week, but I think we might have to have like
No, I'm in
a
now.
April
Like,
special. Yeah.
well, we're gonna do a Freddy Fazbear update.
Yes.
Every once a quarter, we're gonna tell.
Once a
Remember,
quarter. We really could. We
we
could.
probably could. I can imagine there's
We
enough
really
fan
could.
theories
Yeah.
and actual theories that we could probably create an entire. I don't think there's any lack of um like storylines that we could potentially weave into this. So bless this community for being so creative and active.
I
Thank
know,
you
right?
for
Right.
taking me through this.
You're
And for everyone watching,
welcome.
we've got one more, but we're not, as we're talking about it, I feel like it's not going to be enough. We're going to need to do more of these. So we're going to find a way to keep this going. But for now,
And just a
Bree,
reminder, I mean, just a reminder, I said it the first time. This is FNAF 101. Like
yeah,
this is us being like, how let's quickly go over the major detail. Like FNAF 201 could have, I mean, if you wanna theory craft, if you want to become a theorist with us, we could have a whole nother series.
what you're saying is FNAF is like an iceberg. You can only see the top 10% of it. The rest of it is really
The
beneath the
rest of the
surface.
rest of it all rests on one man who won't confirm anything. Yes. So
Well, hopefully he never does, so we can all die
I
in
know,
anguish
right?
knowing that we don't actually know the truth, but we have really, really strong opinions.
That's
But
the
for
fun of it.
now, it is. And Bree, as always, I appreciate you taking me through this and your patience. For everyone
Yes.
watching, enjoy. I hope you're enjoying our what is our fourth episode. Will be our fifth
Yeah.
one next week. And yeah, I'm just excited to see where we end up in this new era of Fazbear lore.
Yep.
So
Sounds
see you
good.
see you in a week. And from all of us here at Macabre Daily, be good, stay safe, and watch more horror movies.
Bye,
Adios.
everyone.